Wednesday fellowship time is going to be a light lunch to welcome Pastor Yvette, and you are all, of course, invited. Next Sunday, the fellowship time will be in honor of Pastor Gordon and Peggy Wright. And again, we hope that you will all be able to join us. This week we have our MOPS program starting on Tuesday, and the Wednesday Bible study is starting on Wednesday morning. Don't forget the Men's Breakfast Club on Wednesday morning, and also Thursday evening Bible discussion. The schedule for the week is on the back of your bulletin if you have any questions about times. And also the senior lunch is starting up again, and the sign-up is in the fellowship hall. It's going to be on Thursday, September 19th. In your bulletin on the inside back cover and also on the insert, there's a lot of activities happening like in the next 6 weeks. We've got mini golf and horseback riding and a pumpkin farm and trick or treat and the spelling bee, of course. And also we have a fall family getaway weekend, and I'd like to call up Larry Dean right now to tell you more about that.
Morning. Morning. On this dreary, cloudy day, if you're looking for a warm, sunny weekend, early fall getaway, Lake Geneva awaits you on September 20th to the 22nd. For those of you who don't know a lot about our getaway at Lake Geneva, for your enjoyment, you can just read a book on a beautifully wooded peninsula that extends into the lake. Or if you're on the other side of activities, there are boat rides that will take you around the lake on a tour of all the amazing estates that go way back to Al Capone's day. Excuse me. Tours of individual residents can be arranged, playing on the beach, golfing, shopping, canoeing, kayaking, or apple picking. If those are all more your speed, Lake Geneva offers all of these and more. A campfire, singing, board games, good old socializing, and a Sunday morning worship service on the peninsula at the very point, an incredible view of the lake completes the weekend. Accommodations are in a motel-type room with air conditioning, we hope, and private toilets. Wisconsin pizza is provided on Wednesday evening. Friday evening. I'm all right. I always get the days mixed up when I'm talking with you. On Friday evening, there's Wisconsin pizza. If you've never had it, it's a new challenge for you. And it will kick off 4 meals for the weekend, which are included in the cost. Education and the Rita Smith Scholarship Fund is available for first-timers, so you may look at that. And the sign-up forms are in Fellowship Hall. For questions, see Nancy Carlson, Bob Carlson, who I don't see this morning, or myself. What we need to make this a perfect weekend is you. Please consider coming.
Good morning. We've had one choir rehearsal so far, and I'm happy to announce that we have a lot of new choir members. We're up 60% over the end of last year. We need 4 more people to get to 100%. And we've doubled the numbers from last year. So I'm looking at 4 new people out there maybe who would like to come join. You only missed 1 rehearsal. We just kind of talked a lot. So hopefully I'll see you at 7:30 on Wednesday night. Thank you. And is it time for John's slideshow intro? Okay, let us worship as we turn our eyes to the television.
I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved like a tree planted by the water. I shall not be moved. I'm sanctified, holy, I shall not be moved. I'm sanctified, holy, I shall not be moved like a tree be.
Good morning. Please stand and join Paul's worship. We were glad when they said, "Let us go to the house of God."
The house of God is wherever people do God's work.
Our feet are standing within your gates, O holy city. We pray for the peace of all God's beloved cities.
Peace be within your walls and security within your towers.
For the sake of friend and stranger, we say,
Peace be within you, O Israel. Peace be within you, O Virginia, O Illinois, and all the places we visit. Peace be within you.
peace be within this community of God. For the sake of the house of the Holy One, our God, we will seek your good.
Let us worship the living God, tender and just.
We invite children forward for growing with God then.
Morning, guys. How are you guys? So today we're going to be talking about lending a helping hand and how God does that for us too. Do you guys remember a time when you helped your mom or dad or maybe your siblings? What'd you do?
I hoped
Good. Anybody else?
cleaning my brother's room one time while he was sleeping. It was very noisy.
That's great. You always want to lend helping hands.
Do you guys see what we all have? You guys all know what they are? Yeah, gloves. So when we were down at ASP, we lended a family a helping hand. We wore these gloves to help them to help build their houses.
We can always rely on God to always help us, and to always lend a helping hand to help us help others.
Yeah, we were the helping hand for the family that we helped by making their home safer, drier, and just a better place to live.
Okay, you ready to pray? Let's hold our hands. Dear God, thank you for being a helping hand in our life and letting us be a helping hand for others, and being the peace for us and bringing our family's peace as well. Thank you. Amen.
As the children head off to Sunday school, please turn in your hymnals to hymn number 595, I'll Fly Away. Please stand.
Morning, everyone. So the first scripture I have for you is 1 Samuel 25:6. It says, "And thus you shall salute him. Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have." Our second verse that we have for you is Matthew 12, verses 28 through 30. It says, "But if it is by the Spirit of God that I cast out demons, and that the kingdom of God has come upon you, or how can one enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods, unless he first binds the strong man? Then indeed he is my plunder, his house. Who is not with me is against me, and who does not gather with me scatters."
What do we have to offer God? We have the work of our hands, the talents of our personalities, and the wages of our work. So let us offer God what is truly desired, an open heart to hear God's call to action in this moment. Will our ushers please come forward and collect our offerings?
And while we collect today's offering, we are all going to sing Let It Be. I know the words are not printed in your bulletin, but 40% of the words are Let It Be the title. So please join in whenever you can. When I find myself in times of trouble, no man knows me. Again, words of wisdom let me. In my hour of darkness, she stands right in front of me. Again, words of wisdom let me. Let it be, let it be, let it be. This love words of wisdom let me. With the broken heart. If you turn in your bulletins to the next page, page 3, you will find the lyrics to Awesome God. According to the bulletin, you may remain seated for this. We rule the prestige of the book on the wrist. Our God is an awesome God. There are signs in his footsteps and thunder in his fist. Our God is an awesome God. And the Lord, he wasn't joking when he kicked him out of Eden. It wasn't for no reason that he shed his blood. His return is very soon, so you better be believing that our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom.
the Appalachian Service Project. This was PCOP's 27th year attending the Appalachian Service Project. For those of you who don't know, the ASP helps services many different regions within the Appalachian area. So that could include Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. This year we went to Virginia on ASP's 51st year being in the region. So it's been a program that's been around since 1969, which is fantastic. For those of you who aren't familiar with the program, although I know a lot of you are, so if you have been a part of the ASP program, go ahead and raise your hand. And if you're in the front, turn around, you'll see there's quite a bit of hands raised, right? So ASP is a huge part of PCOP, and I'm so honored that I get to be able to lead this wonderful group of participants on our trip. Basically what the idea of ASP is to help these families in the Appalachian area make their homes warmer, safer, and drier. A lot of times what you'll hear is that, oh, ASP is just like Habitat for Humanity. But it's not. It's more than that. And we're going into a family's home. They've had this home in their families, I think, most of them since the Prohibition era. And you're going into homes that are in complete disrepair, and you just have, to me, it's just an eye-opening experience. How can people live like this? And you're welcomed with so much joy and hope, and you're surrounded by Christ's love. And for instance, we're in there where they don't have a floor in their house. That's just completely wood floors, and their splitters are running around with no shoes on and no running water. And that just, to me, is like, I don't think I could live like that. But then you see these people that do it every day, which is just a completely eye-opening experience. So beyond that, Grant, I'm really up here to tell you more about the background of ASP and also what we do to prepare for the trip. And what we do is, starting in December, the ASP Action Team, which includes not just the leaders, but also members of the congregation who have dedicated their lives to ASP, we get together and we decide some of the logistics. Where do we want to go this year? How are we going to reach out to new participants? And what are we going to do? What's the schedule going to be like for the year? One of the things that is great about our program is we don't just sign up for this and then say, hey, everybody show up on July 12th, we're going to head down for a 12-hour drive and do whatever we're told to do. We get together throughout the year, we do different workshops, we prepare in a manner to make sure that we're sensitive to the needs of the people in the area, that we're understanding the different safety that's going to be required when we're at the work sites, and then also creating fellowship amongst each other so that we're a family by the time that we go down there. So we start as this kind of awkward group in the beginning where we're like, oh, I've never seen you before. And then we end really close with great friends and families that we'll have for the rest of our lives. I know me personally, you meet a family and you're like, oh, let's become Facebook friends. And you keep in touch with them for the rest of the time. So I think that it's a really rewarding group. It's something that we offer for youth members of our church. So if you have completed your freshman year of high school all the way through senior year, and in addition to that, we're starting to open it up a little bit more to some college-age students as well, which is great. So it's something that we have, like I said, we've been doing for 27 years here at PCOP, and we really hope that we can keep it going. And I think that with the wonderful congregation support that we have, as well as our youth participants, we really have a great opportunity to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to some of the rest of my members of the Appalachian Service Project. They're going to give you a little bit more background about the area we were at, as well as the families that we worked with, and some of the truly memorable experiences that we had while we were at the down in Virginia for a week. Chris?
Thanks, Susan. Good morning. I'm dog sitting, so I wrote my stuff on my phone. That's okay. I say this every year, and I truly, honestly, those of you who know me, know that I mean this every year. This year was incredible. I'm not going to say it's unlike any year, but in all honesty, it's the same but very different. The experiences are different, the people are different, the teams are different, the leadership is different, and always incredibly memorable. As soon as I get out of the van, I'm already asking them, are you ready to go next year? Because I already am.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we were. This year we were in Appalachia, Virginia, which we all thought was the coolest thing, that we're actually in the town of Appalachia. And the information that I got this year, that we got this year as a group, was pretty interesting about how the towns were named. Appalachia is a very little town in Virginia. Appalachia is 2 square miles, literally 2 square miles. And it started with about 600 people in 1890 and has grown to about 1,590 people currently. The towns back then were named by the railroad companies. So there was nothing down there. They found out there was coal down there, and they started to bring down, the railroads started coming down because there was no way to get anybody down there. So the railroads started coming through, and as they came through, when they ran out of materials, they would stop and they would have to wait for materials to come down the rails, and that's where they would name a town. I'm not quite sure how they got to the size of the town and boundaries and that type of thing. And Appalachia was actually named out of one of the railroad interstate executives. They are saying now that if coal mining never came to that area, it still might not be inhabited. That's how dense the area is and how hard it was to get in there. Nobody traveled down there. When the coal mine shut down and people lost their jobs, that's where poverty set in. And one of the ways that happened is the coal miners were paid with company script. So it wasn't regular green dollars that you see us getting when we get paid. It was paid with company script. And they were little towns, and they built homes and washing stations outside of those areas. And when they came in, they built their own general stores. They had their own doctors. They had everything. It was like a little community, if you will. And that money that they were paid was used in that community only. So when the coal mines closed down and the mining companies moved on to look for other places to open up, those people were left with company script and not regular dollars to be able to spend in a general grocery store anywhere else. The whole thing shut down and they moved on, and these people were left. They were left there to kind of fend for themselves and start looking for new employment. The poverty in the area really plummeted, and so the areas became beyond inhabitable. People tried to move. They got more into fending for themselves. And Walmart wasn't down there back then. That was obviously a very long time ago. So what they're doing now is they're trying to retake the country back in the areas. They're building up more. If you go down there, you'll see it's definitely just like us, what this looked like in 1890. It's nothing like that anymore. And people are moving down there in droves because the cost of living is lower. People are retiring. I had a chance to talk to Reese, who is from the Country Cabin, and our culture night was there. And he was able to share some incredible history of the area. We stayed in Appalachia High School. How appropriate. And you'll see a picture of that with like a magnificent rainbow in front of it. That rainbow, to tell you one little thing about the rainbow. The base of that rainbow was 2 blocks away from us. The base of that mountain was literally 2 blocks from us and went straight up. So, but by the time we all could have maybe ran there to get the pot, all of a sudden we looked again and the rainbow was on the other side of the mountain. So that's why you can never catch that, just so you know. Appalachia High School, located in Appalachia, Virginia, is part of the Wise County Public School System and educates approximately 350 students a year, 8th grade through 10th grade. We had the opportunity to stay there this year. They opened it up. This was the second year that ASP was in this school. We didn't have air conditioning, but been there, done that. So it was actually not too bad. We had a lot of fans, so we were able to stay comfortable. It was a great community. We had amazing churches that we were with there. We had a cook that we all supported tremendously because her other 2 cooks quit. So She needed a lot of support, and it was just incredible to see these 5 churches just pitch in and help her and help each other and work together. So on a personal note, I just want to share that I had an incredible visitor, and our theme this year, Be the Peace, really resonated with me because one thing that we talked about all week was how can we be the peace for someone else if we're not at peace with ourselves or have peace within ourselves. And so I worked really hard on that the week that I was down there, made some decisions, and it was so appropriate that you'll see a gentleman in there with a mustache that kind of goes down there. His name is Keith Banks. And he said he might come and visit me and visit us, and he showed up on Tuesday night. And I've never really ran to meet anybody in my life, but when I saw his silhouette at the end of the hallway, I knew that being the peace was standing there with him, because he taught me in 2001 when I first met him. He's the center director, year-round center director for ASP for all 5, or all 4, and there was a 5th year-round centers. So when I met him in 2001, he changed my life and made me realize that I was the peace and that my passion in life was ASP. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Korsky, and I was on Team 1 for the trip, which consisted of me, Chris, Ben, Anna, and Justin. And our family that we helped consisted of Sheila, who was the mom, Hunter, who was 3, and Lexi, who was 9. Sheila, she was a single mom, but she still seemed to have it together with taking care of her kids and stuff, and she really seemed like a great loving mother. She was constantly holding Hunter on her lap, and at first also she wasn't like as open with us, but by the time it was like Wednesday, she really had opened up to us, especially Chris, sitting on the patio for just hours telling her life story, and we really thought that was like an incredible thing for her to just be able to open up to complete strangers that she's only known for a few days. And while she did that, Hunter was sitting on her lap at one point, and he wanted down. So I came along and started to play with him then, and then he'd go on the trampoline. They had a trampoline in their backyard. So we would go on the trampoline, and he really enjoyed that. He really enjoyed when I'd like do flips. And it was the funniest thing. He'd like open his like mouth and be like, oh my gosh, and stuff like that. So that was really fun. He also enjoyed when Justin and Ben would like run around the trampoline and like put their hands on like the netting part of it, and like Hunter would then like try to like hit their hands, like do like a high five thing. He was really fun to play with. And I thought it was interesting too that I've played with many like kids of his age before, and like him being like deaf is like he's still, even though he can't communicate in the ways like normal 3-year-olds can play, he's still like found ways to like be a normal kid, and he was just a joy to have on the site. And we moved on to Lexi, who was 9, and she came around a lot. She enjoyed playing like hide and seek and stuff. I played with her. She really enjoyed drawing too, and she'd always like show us different toys that she'd bring every day. And at one point we were putting up a piece on the house, and she took one of the pencils and was like drawing like a bunch of different things. She was showing us that she can draw like birds sitting on like a branch out of just like 2 number 2s. So she just thought of the most like creative things like ever. And after she drew on like the whole piece of wood, like the whole thing was just covered in her drawings, and then we eventually put it up on the house, so like it would always be like with her, I guess. So yeah, the week, she had a claw machine and then she had candy in it. So she gave me a ring pop, and so that was like my little present because we gave, you know, the whole family presents, and we gave her specifically, I think we gave her a purse thing to like color with, and then a stuffed animal. And I just thought that was really sweet of her to give something back to me as well. The mother, we gave her a like diffuser, and she really appreciated that. She really just appreciated us being there in general, and she actually got like really emotional towards the end, like we were all leaving. So like she hugged us goodbye, and that was that. And then Hunter, we gave I think Play-Doh because we thought it would be good for him because he really enjoys using his hands to like do different things. So we thought that would be good for him. And then we also gave him a truck. So yeah, Jack will be explaining his experiences on his.
I'm Jack Crabb. I was part of Team 2 down at ASP, along with Susan, John, Tyler, Ariana, and Sarah. And while we were down there, we met our family, and they were very kind. Their youngest, Hunter, was very playful. He always wanted to play with at least one of us whenever we were taking a break for lunch. And the last day was a very memorable time because it was actually the owner of the house, Faye's, it was her birthday. And she told one of the staffers that were staying at ASP that she wanted to step in a watermelon. And they came down with a watermelon, and she was able to step in it, and it was also her birthday, and it was actually the first time in a long time that someone celebrated her birthday with her and like sang to her. She was very grateful for it, and she was actually crying because she was so happy. And we also gave gifts to each of the kids. For Hunter, we gave a Paw Patrol blanket, and then for the middle child, we gave a mermaid blanket. It was a blanket that was like a mermaid tail and wrapped around her legs. And then for the oldest, Peyton, we gave her a body pillow that go with her new room and new bed. And we tried to work hard, and we helped complete. We added girders underneath to help the supports, and the family was just very grateful the whole time. They always tried to remind us.
Hi, I'm Sarah Crabb. I was a part of Team 2 with Jack, and I'm going to talk about some of the God moments that we had. So the first one was on Wednesday. It was the day that we had to make the cement to put under the house to hold up the girders that Jack was talking about. And we had all of the powder cement, but we needed water. We didn't want to use her water because we knew that was going to cost her a lot, and we came to find out that her water had just been turned back on. And so we all just were like, what do we do? A couple minutes later, it started downpouring. And so we all found buckets and started using the rainwater, like catching all of the rainwater so that we could use that water to make the cement. We ended up having enough water to make all the cement and then some. So it just kind of reminded us that God is always there for us, and He's always watching over and will help us whenever we need it. The next day, Thursday, we had kind of hit like a dead end, and we didn't really know what to do. They told us we were going to have a Mosey Thursday, and then we kind of had to wait for some things to happen. The inspector needed to come, and then the flooring that we were going to put in needed to sit in the house for 24 hours just to like get acclimated to the surroundings. So we were all kind of upset, and our way there we were kind of complaining about like not boxes of flooring in a house acclimated. So we could start on that right away. And then within an hour, the inspector came and checked everything out and said we were all good to start on that room. So it was not a Mosey Thursday anyway, and we were able to start working right away. So it was just another reminder that God's always there to help us. I'm going to hand it over to Anna.
I'm Hannah. I was part of the other team, and we were tasked with doing van joists, and none of us knew how to do them. And we tried to read the manual, but it wasn't very clear, and we were still very confused. And so on Wednesday, another team came to join us, and one person on the team was a contractor. So he knew all about the van joists and everything else we were doing, and we got way more done than we even thought was possible because we had so many extra people with us helping us. And it really showed us that, like, God's there to give us someone to help, even though we didn't know how to do it. Someone there did, and he sent him to help us. And now Glenn is going to share that up now.
Good morning. I'm Ben. I was on Team 1. And this week at ASP, it just taught us how to be uncomfortable. So I'll just start with saying why. So when the staff recommends something, like you should put a fan because the place is air conditioned, you should listen to them, right? I'm like, no, you know what, I'll be fine. You know, I can deal with the heat. It'll be okay. It's only a week. And these people in their houses don't have air conditioning. It's fine. So I didn't bring a fan. Everybody else had their fans, and I was cooking like all night long. We were living in the gymnasium, and so they had these black tarps up. There were no doors open. They had these fans in the ceiling, and it was just like being in the reptile zoo. I don't think I've slept so poorly in my life. And so when the staff teaches you or tells you, hey, you should bring a fan, it's not a recommendation. It's like, this is what you need to do. So next time I'll pick up on that. Which brings me to next time. So this is my 4th year of going to ASP, and I only went 3 years in high school. So PCOP was grateful, and they made an accommodation for me as a college student to come back and volunteer with ASP. This is something new. We haven't really done this in a while, and so we thought we'd try it out and test the waters. And I love it. I think it was great because I remember not being able to go, and I was regretting not going my 4th year of high school. So to be able to go this year was just something I really enjoyed. I had the time, and I couldn't be happier, and I hope it continues to work out this way. So this being my 4th year, I was able to go on home visits. So what a home visit is I think it's on Sunday night. The first night we get there, we visit the homeowners and we see the projects we're going to be working on. And we go with a couple other teams, so we hit about 3 houses and get to meet the families. And it's like a small group kind of bonding for the team leaders, you could call them. And that was really insightful for me because my other 3 years, I never got to experience any of the other families. The only way I would hear about it is stories that other people would tell, or at the family picnics, they might come and you could meet them for 5 minutes, but it was just impersonal and you only got one side of the story. Well, this time I got to go on a home visit and I got to go to 2 other home sites, and that was really eye-opening because I got to talk personally with other families, the other volunteers. So if this one year maybe you didn't feel like you had a God moment, or you didn't feel like your homeowner was receptive, whatever your case may be, if you continue to go in these other years, there's always something new to experience. And it just shows you that the experiences are so much different each 4 years, even though you're doing kind of the same idea. And then now for God moments. Like Chris was saying, the lady who was making our meals, she had 2 other cooks that left. They just, I guess, walked out and left for whatever reason. We're not really sure. But that was nothing she couldn't handle because she was a tough lady, and then she had her kids with her too. I don't know if they were grandchildren, but they would help cook and clean the dishes. So there was the little crew of them working. And by the end of the week, we found out she was really struggling personally. I don't know what the details of that were personally, but at the end of the week, they stood up and gave a big presentation, and there were a lot of tears shed. each of the teams donated some money to help this lady because she was really struggling, and she provided our meals all week and never grumbled or complained about any of it. And we had a lot of volunteers, I don't know, 120 people in this center, and one lady was in charge of the meals for all of it, so God bless her. But like I said, it was uncomfortable. The one thing that stood out to me is something like the food portions. They were very small. And not gonna lie, there were days like I went hungry to the work site. I couldn't wait to have my peanut butter and jelly sandwich for breakfast. I was just starving, and it's really unfortunate that I even had that thought in my mind because, you know, these families we're serving, they don't get all 3 meals a day. Maybe they're struggling to even put 1 meal on the table for their kids. And so it really makes you realize that I was in no position to complain, and none of the other volunteers were, in my opinion, in any position to complain, because we're here to help these families, and we immerse ourselves in their community for this whole week, and we should really be sensitive to their living conditions. And I think this was one way to really understand how they live. I mean, with just maybe like a lower quality meal, not getting always what you want to eat, not getting as much as you want to eat. So sensitivity, I think that was a big one. So that was my God moment, and hearing the lady who was making her food talk about how grateful she was for us after she received her donations was just, it was really eye-opening. Thanks.
It is now time to sing Taking Home Country Roads, our final congregational song. Maybe the ASP team would like to come up front to help lead us in this song. It would be great to see all of you together. We appreciate all your work today, all the work you did for God's people earlier this year in West Virginia. And the congregation, you may stand for Country Roads.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge.
out from this holy place and make all places you encounter holy by spreading the love of God. Rely upon the Lord for strength and peace. Go forth and serve in the name of the Lord. Amen.